welcome to a new Life in France. There's two of us on camera today. I'm joined by Joe, who's part of our team and is an amazing colleague of ours as well, and has got such a specialism in finding properties and helping people to move here to France. We are going to be looking today at, if you're sat at home and you're thinking, I want to move to France and I'm living in the UK, we are going to take you through some of the visa things. So we're going to talk about visas today. So if you're in the UK looking to move to France, we're going to help you to explore that minefield that is visas. Joe, visas, I mean, crikey, particularly pre-Brexit, those in the UK, they wouldn't have known about visas really. You wouldn't have come across it unless maybe you moved to the US or a few other countries around the world. But if you were coming into Europe, it wasn't a thing. So talk to us about the visa requirements, what things you need to think about if you're in the UK and you're looking to buy a property and move permanently to France.
Yeah, obviously Brexit has changed a lot for people wanting to come and live in France. We now have to go through a process like everyone else does who isn't part of the EU in terms of the paperwork that has to be done to ensure we can come and live here. So there's obviously lots of different types of visas, and it will depend on your reason for coming over here and how you're going to support yourself going forward as to the type of visa that you need to apply for. The two most common ones being the inactive visa if you're looking to move here as a retired individual, or the working visa, whether you're going to be supporting yourself as a self-employed individual or if you've been lucky enough to find a job over in France. There are other sorts of visas. You have your student visas, your talent visas, but those are less common ones.
So those coming from the UK, typically we see a large number of retirees, either those people who take their pension pot at 55 or those who actually get to retirement age and then take that retirement and come over. Talk to us a little bit then about the retirees. What are the things they have to think about and, what are some of those measures that are in place?
So the primary measure is going to be, are you going to have enough in your retirement to be able to support yourself in France? Because obviously one of the key considerations for the French government when granting your visa is, are you going to be a drain on their economy? So being able to evidence that you've got sufficient resources to support yourself to, they call it the SMIC, the French minimum monthly income required that they deem necessary to be able to support yourself to live over here. So you have to provide evidence of your financial stability to that level per month.
And then alongside that, you said about working. Now, there will be a very small percentage will come with a job. It's a very small percentage that will come over. The majority of those looking to come to France who want to be in employment are most likely to be self-employed. They're either going to be running a gîte or running a cafe, a restaurant, doing general work or whatever. But talk to us about that then. How can you come over to France and can you evidence that you've got a business and you're going to be able to sustain yourself?
So obviously having a business proposition, having an idea of what you want to do, as you mentioned there, gîtes are quite a common one. A lot of people will buy ready-made gîte businesses, which obviously then you've got previous figures from that business to be able to include as actual figures for your business plan. However, some people do come over with the idea of buying a property that they can convert into gîtes, and that is entirely possible too. However, you need to show through your business plan that you've got sufficient resources to support yourself whilst you're going through the process of setting that business up. And that needs to be realistic as well.
And then so alongside this, so if you go through the visa application and you get your visa, does that mean you're here in France forever or what happens next?
So your initial visa, if you're applying for one that can convert to become a full-time resident of France, will last a year, and that gives you that year to complete all the administrative steps, of which there are quite a few. Getting yourself into the social security system, getting your health card, undertaking the necessary integration training. If you're on a working visa, there's 4 mandatory days you have to do, as well as passing a basic language test. And that year enables you to complete all of those steps. And at the end of that year, you then reapply for your residency card, your carte de séjour, titre de séjour, so that you can then stay, and they will grant you, if assuming you've met the criteria, they will then grant you a longer period card for that.
So you spoke then as well about healthcare. Now, when you're going through your visa application, is there anything specific about healthcare that people need to know about before they can actually become a resident?
Yeah, you have to, as part of the visa process, you'll be needing to show that you've got sufficient healthcare in place to support yourself until such time as you've got access to the French healthcare system so that it covers your cost. And it can't be travel insurance, it has to be actual healthcare cover.
And so let's say you're going through this process and doing it. So you're at home, you're doing it, and you think, "Oh, right, I'm going to do it." What would be the steps that person has to do? Are there centres in the UK set up for this? How does it work if somebody wants to do it themselves?
If you want to do it yourself, you go through the French government website to complete your visa application. You get given a reference number when you've done that, and you then book an appointment with one of the three centres in the UK, either London, Edinburgh, or Manchester. You then take your documents to the appointment. They will validate them. You'll also have to hand over your passport, and you don't get that back on the day. You have to wait till your visa is determined, which often will take a couple of weeks, sometimes a little longer, depending on the time of year and how busy they are. But once you've lodged that, you then return home and wait for your passport to come back, because you'll only find out if you've been granted your visa when you open your passport, when you open the mail.
And that's if you do it yourself. So talk to us about the process that we have here that you oversee. So if somebody is going there going, "This is all sounding a bit daunting, but I want to do it. How can you help me?" So talk us through that process.
So we can offer a number of different packages, and sometimes it will depend on the type of visa, for example, that people are applying for. The inactive visas tend to be a little bit more straightforward because it is purely an evidence of resources, healthcare, etc. So people will ask us to review their packs and check that they've included everything they need to and that it's going to be satisfactory for the purposes of submission. Whereas, for example, with working visas, if someone's going to be self-employed, we can help with creation of business plans, providing input into that, helping them gather all the other documents that they need for that type of visa.
So hopefully you've found this really useful today. We just wanted to bring you a snapshot in visa. So if you're living in the UK and you want to start the process of living the dream in France, you need to get your visa first. So I hope you've really found that useful in terms of understanding that. But what we have done in the description, there is a link and you can download our UK guide to moving to France. There's also a very special checklist there as well for the visas to help you to go through this. So the bulk of this, if you want to do it yourself, you can do it yourself. But if you want us to be able to help you, then Joe and the team are here on hand to be able to help you to go through that process, to rubber stamp maybe what you've done, or actually help you from start to finish to get your visa so that you can move here in France. Really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. It's very much a factual information episode as well, but do remember, subscribe, press that subscribe button, and you will be notified every single week of our new programs that keep coming out, be it about practical advice, be it about properties, or be it just an information about how wonderful France is, but also the highs and the lows as well. So join us next time.